Hello there, you beautiful people. My name is Willow, and welcome back to Supreme Commander Forged Lines Forever for a 2v2 played on the map Lost Paradise 3. Before we get into introducing our players with Team 1 on the northern side and Team 2 on the southern side, I'd like to direct your attention down below to the buttons there for your clicking pleasure. Like, dislike if you dislike it, comment, subscribe, bell, super thanks, and the join membership button, all of which very useful and can help the channel immensely. And now let's get into introducing our players, starting in the far north with the Blue Cybran going first land by the name of Auto Noob. As we move down to the south, we have a very fittingly pink Cybran going first land, and his name is Pink Fluffy Noob, and he's going to be rocking the central island position. As we move on to his opponent on Team 2, the Gray UEF, the salty and saddest pro around. He is all around a very British person, and his name is, of course, Grimplex. As we move to the last player, last but not least, of course, the Blue Aeon best faction and almost the best color, Tech House Noob. And with all of our players introduced, we can look at the map. A cool 7,000, almost 8,000 reclaim on the map, and this map is not balanced. Huh. Yeah, no, he's not even slightly balanced. Okay, well, if Team 2 wins, they had an unfair advantage, because, I'm pretty sure, yeah, 5,000 of the 7,000 reclaim on the map is on their side of the map. Did not notice that when reviewing this, so, yeah, take that with a grain of salt. 3,000 reclaim for Northern Team. Of course, there's not a ton of reclaim, so yeah, it could be anything. Lol Ronk map version. What the fuck is this map? I do think they realize it, but of course they're also pros, so maybe the extra like 2,000, 3,000 reclaim won't particularly matter. Admittedly, the reclaim is in these trees where you have to get them very, very slowly, so it's a very slow process. We're just gonna have to see, but this is gonna be a longer game. It's gonna be some pro level gameplay, as so many people have been asking for. And it's going to be a fun time. I'm expecting to see a little bit of naval play, but I think the majority of the fighting is going to be here in the middle. We have these mexes on plateaus that there will probably be some drop fighting for. And of course, just in general, these are pro-level players, so they're going to fight out quite a bit. Also, the map is not perfectly mirrored. As you can see, the center here does have some abnormalities. And of course, with that reclaim we saw earlier, definitely not perfectly centered, but will be an interesting showcase of choke points nonetheless, because we have about 3 major choke points that units can get through, so should be quite a fun time. As we have our first scouts coming out, and we have a transport out from Grimplex, and it was gifted over via Tech House Noob, so Grimplex is going to be getting a extra expansion that he wouldn't have normally, which is pretty interesting to see. Does seem as though there is a differing opinion on how these players want to play out the game. We have over here on the north, Auto Noob and Pink Fluffy Noob, both going to be going for various expansions, whereas Grimplex is going to try and get all of this middle island to himself and leave Tech House Noob on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mass extractors, and maybe grab some of these ones in the back line. We also have the comm of Tech House Noob making its way to the main island, so maybe he does get his own kind of expansion setup, but is definitely playing a very supportive style over towards Grimplex there. We have a drop up to this major plateau where these players can get themselves a bit of a mass generation advantage, get themselves those 2 extra mass extractors, which pro players will turn into like 13 T3 mexes by 5 minutes, because that's how it feels when you're playing against these players. And overall, we can take a look at the economies. Tech House Noob leading the charts on reclaim with the only player above 1,000 mass reclaim at the 4 minute and 35-second mark. Whereas economically, we have Pink Fluffy Noob and Grimplex, and actually everybody kind of just trading for the top. Everybody is between 25 and 40 mass a second. Going to be interesting to see exactly who wins this. We do have a lab and engineer dropped over here to stop the expansion efforts of the blue Cybern to the north. It is, of course, Cybern versus, it's double Cybern versus UEF Aeon, so a definite tech disparity. Gonna have to see if that comes into play. Down here to the south, it seems as though there was a raid that was attempting to shut down any kind of expansion, but there's already 2 factories and another 2 about to go up, so it is no threat to him as of the moment. Grimplex gonna be very happy that he's getting all of these expansions with very, very little opposition, it would seem. Of course, you would be expected to get all of the expansions on your side of the map, as it is, of course, your side of the map. Gonna have to see how these players want to approach this. Looking at the game quality, it's only 67%. It's not a very balanced game by any means, as we have 2 1800s for Team 1, and Team 2 has Grimplex, who is a 2200, and Tech House Noob, who is an 1800. Sure, these players are just playing for fun, for enjoyment, so I'm sure it's not too much of an issue. This is, of course, a custom game and not any kind of TMM shenanigans going on here. We do have a Mantis out now for Pink Fluffy Noob. Gonna pick up a Mass Extractor most likely. I don't see anything in the area to really stop this. Tech House Noob getting himself, or not, for Pink Fluffy Noob getting himself out onto the map, getting himself some damage done onto Grimplex, just trying to spread the units of Grimplex thin in this early game, as we have economies inflating quite heavily. Currently, Auto Noob and Pink Fluffy Noob doing very well economically, whereas Grimplex kind of running away from his teammate, doubling the mass generation of his ally. Of course, his ally did sacrifice a little bit to help out the gray UEF player. We have a T1 bomber somewhere. I don't know where that is. It'll be interesting to keep an eye out for it, though. Oh, it's right here at the middle. Going to be trying to kill off this expansion that Grimplex stole away. Up here to the north, Grimplex starting to build factories with the commander. He does have a few units trying to incur on his territory, whereas down here to the south, we have a lot of units for Pink Fluffy Noob, a lot of little raiding groups, a lot of duos of Mantis just trying to get in here and trying to deal their terrible, terrible damage onto the Mass Extractors and early expansion opportunities of particularly Tech House Noob now, as these Mass Extractors he's grabbing on the backside of this island are going to be under threat by that Mantis threat. Under threat by the threat. Yes, that's good English. Me speak good. As we check in on various states of the map, let's go ahead and see if there's a reclaim lead. Nope, both teams exactly the same on reclaim, so maybe map not completely unbalanced. Of course, it's very slow to grab up this reclaim. You're gonna have more reclaim and simple wrecks of units that are fighting, so interesting to see that unfold. As over here we have a relatively large Mantis army now out from Pink Fluffy Noob, and there's really not that great of a response out from Grimplex. He only has a few strikers in the area, so these Mass Extractors going to be denied, at least for the moment, indefinitely. So gonna have to see how Grimplex handles that. Is Grimplex going for anything in particular? He's about to finish up T2 land. I would assume we're gonna see an engineer, maybe some T2 power, because I think he's gonna have trouble running more than 1 or 2 T2 land factories here soon. Although, no, he does have about 200 mass a second, or 200 power a second spare, so he could afford a little bit more T2 production, or even a couple more mechs upgrades running at any given time. Whereas these units out from Pink Fluffy Noob now starting to pick off yet another Mass Extractor, just trying to hem in Grimplex, trying to shut down his efforts. We do have a... is that a Sparky or a T2 Engineer? That's just a T2 Engineer coming out. And now we have a bunch of pillars about to start being produced for Grimplex. He's going to be needing to use those to take on the Mantis threat. The Mantis are separating, and they're going to be killed off one by one. Are going to probably be able to get off a kill onto this Engineer and then onto the Radar, which Grimplex is going to be very unhappy about. Losing your Radar is always never fun. Yes, that was the correct formatting of that sentence. Don't at me. As we have our first little naval play now coming out from AutoNoob, trying to secure the Navy for himself. The first player to have any naval factories, and in fact he has 2 of them. He's producing quite a few frigates. Gonna have to see if this affects his ability to hold on land. Frigates are not cheap. Of course, I'm pretty sure they cost, at least mass per second wise, the exact same as a land factory, although the frigate themselves takes a lot longer to build, so it is a relatively expensive investment. Does have some assistance on it, so going to be something to keep our eyes on. Down here on the southern side of the map, Grimplex currently sitting on almost 100 mass a second. Not too far behind him, though, is Pink Fluffy Noob, who is sitting on 88. 98 for Grimplex, who, of course, has more mexes than anybody else on the map, is going to be indexing a lot of his power towards the northern side, it would seem, as all of his T2 production is heading up towards where his comm is, and he's now getting quite a few pillars on the field. I'm very happy to see that Grimplex has oh so kindly shown all of you that even the 2200s agree with me. Build frickin' pillars and stop spamming mongoose. You aren't good enough for it, and Grimplex even is over here like, yeah, pillars are pretty good. They're cheap and they go burr, okay? Whereas mongoose are expensive and they go kablur. That's such a... I just stun-locked myself with that comment. We have a drop out from AutoNoob. He's going to be dropping the backside of this island. Is there any engineers with this? It does not appear so. It just appears to be Mantis. I guess I can double check my words there and make sure I'm right. Yep, 4 Mantis. Still a decent little raiding party, and even has raiding parties back here to continue his efforts into denying denying Tech House Noob from getting his goals achieved. Tech House Noob now at T3 Air and can start T3 Air production. He has a scout on the way, followed by 5 Coronas. Going to be interesting. What's the name of the scout? Seer. I used to know that. I don't anymore, as the 4 Mantis are going to land very, very soon. There are a couple of T1 bombers, so if Tech House Noob does notice this in some way, shape, or form, he will be able to just bring the bombers back and kill off those Mantis relatively easily. In the middle, a bit of an air engagement between the interceptors of AutoNoob and the interceptors of Grimplex. Grimplex taking a very bad trade, although I don't think he's particularly worried. He just needs to build a flak, and then he doesn't really have much threat on him in the form of air units towards his ground force. And he just did a huge drop of strikers into the back of the base of Pink Fluffy Noob, and Pink Fluffy Noob is going to be feeling the pain. He got a T2 transport, I believe that was a Luminar, out from his ally Tech House Noob, and that Illuminar dropped off so many strikers in the backline, and there's just nothing here. We have a T1 bomber, but that's going to take a long time to chew through strikers with their increased HP pool at the tier 1. He does want to make sure he gets rid of this engineer here. A reclaim order was placed on this mechs, which I don't know if that was the proper goal there of the mechs, or of the... Oh! Yeah, he reclaimed a mechs and he's rebuilding it. I guess that mechs maybe died a little bit earlier, as we have these units just tearing through the base. So many T2 mexes have gone down now for Pink Fluffy Noob. Why do people sweat on me when I'm rusty? Pink Fluffy Noob not happy with the situation whatsoever. In fact, you could claim he is a bit salty, and he is now losing his power grid. He doesn't have the mass to support what he was running just moments ago. Of course, he does have the power, since a mass stall is very often the solution to your power stall. And over here to the north, we have a large T2 army now going up against AutoNoob. AutoNoob does not really have the T2 units on the field, but he does have T2 units producing. And we have a drop of 6 pillars that's going to come in here. There is, of course, a Cerberus on the ground, although if you can focus down the Cerberus, well, it won't matter because the pillars and the transport are dead. I was going to say, if you can drop it next to the Cerberus, focus it down, you can really just kill it off very quickly. 6 pillars probably have the DPS to deal with that without too much struggle. We do have another Cerberus now going online. It seems as though AutoNoob has decided that his best option for dealing with these pillars in the short term is going to be that static defense. Going to be very slow to kill off each individual pillar, but will be consistent and will have that extra range, can try and use his T1 units to buffer, and he is going to be under a ton of pressure now as Grimplex's units come in for striking a relatively deadly blow. If he does kill off the T2 HQ, if he does kill off this production, it's going to be a very, very uphill battle for Auto Noob to continue his efforts on the northern side of this island. Does seem as though there is enough DPS coming out from those Cerberus to ward away the units of Grimplex, so this is going to be relatively uneventful, other than dropping a bunch of mass right on top of this base that Auto Noob has. I'm sure he'll be happy to scoop all of that up. There is, of course, over here a few T1 bombers really throwing some harassment down onto Tech House Noob and the Aurora out from Grimplex. Tech House Noob going to try and use his comm to help defend this area. Do we have any spicy plays coming out? We do have T3 Air now finished up for Auto Noob. We have T3 Power on the way. Tech House Noob did get that T3 Air quite a bit sooner than his opponent. Somebody said strat incoming soon. I don't know if there was a strat bomber. If there was, it got a ton of value because there's a lot of missing mexes over here. I mean, maybe we can even find it. Is that a strat bomber wreck? That is indeed a shocker. So there was a strat bomber. I did miss it. Of course, there was a lot going on. So hopefully you all will forgive me for my oh so not omnipotence. As we meander our way into the mid-game, we're getting to that point where we're at 15 minutes. Players are getting up to or above 100 mass a second, and Grimplex is nearing 200 mass a second because he is just that sweaty. Up to T3 land, we have our first few Titans appearing on the field. He is getting a lot of pressure thrown onto him by Pink Fluffy Noob, and this forward base over here that has the Aeon technology seemingly going to go down. Although, maybe not. There may be enough here to buffer for a couple of Titans to show up and protect this. There's also some Spectres in the air trying to help negate the pressure and the damage coming out from Pink Fluffy Noob on this southern side. The comm of Tech House Noob up to 6 whole kills. He's very helpful as loyalists show up for Pink Fluffy Noob. He's also at T3 land, and he's going to start using it to try and kill off yet again some of these more exterior mexes of Grimplex's base, trying to get that damage down. Interceptors now in a heated engagement with ASF. The Interceptors can kill ASF, but you need such a ridiculous number, so these ASF going to clean up those Interceptors and going to firmly put ourselves into the T3 Air phase of the game, where T1 Air is just no longer as useful as it once was. The only thing you might want to consider building is T1 bombers for that harassment capability. Let's go ahead and check in on Reclaim. Pink Fluffy Noob at the highest with 10,000, and he's actually battling for Grimplex at that 10,000 mark for the most Reclaim. 7.5 thousand for Auto Noob, and Tech House Noob sitting on 3.2 thousand, so interesting situation there. Titans now showing up onto the front lines, going to be fighting it out with some Loyalists as Grimplex is trying to push back this force out from Pink Fluffy Noob, who is just trying to still lay in with the pressure. He's leaving a lot of mass on this side of the field, though, which is going to be a bit dangerous for him. As, of course, the more mass you leave over here, the more likely Grimplex is going to get into that stage where he is just building experimentals for fun, as he is rocketing up in economy up to nearly 200 mass a second, really getting close to being in that range of just building an experimental, as I said, for fun. Just be like, all right, well, time to end the game. Time to end this man's whole career, as a bunch of pillars and strikers over here going to be taking substantial damage from the air incursion, the air power of Pink Fluffy Noob, who is using his T1 bombers to try and thin out the T2 force up here, try and buy some breathing room for Auto Noob as he continues to lay on the aggression thick and heavy down here on the southern side. Such a great attack coming out from him, although his units are dissipating and he is now having struggles with keeping up with the production that Grimplex is now able to afford on the field. Probably needs to fall back relatively soon. Do we have any kind of experimentals going on? No, we have an air grid now going up for Auto Noob, and I don't see, as I said, any experimentals unless Tech House Noob is doing something spicy. No, he is not. Trying to keep my eye out. Those first experimentals going to be very pivotal in this game. either team still in a position to win this game. Pink Fluffy Noob is recovering well, and Auto Noob is ecoing out of his mind to try and catch up with Grimplex, and in fact, maybe he has, as maybe that's just a stall for Grimplex. It is indeed a stall, but that stall buys precious moments now for Auto Noob and Pink Fluffy Noob to try and catch up. Grimplex just now, I think, finishes up that T3 Pigeon and now can afford everything again. 170 mass second versus 142 for Auto Noob. Total mass generation this game, Team 2 up only about 20,000, which isn't particularly significant. I know it is an entire experimental worth of mass, but in the long haul, it could have been a lot worse with that early aggression coming out. It does seem as though Team 1 has stabilized and are in a position to continue the fight against the gray menace that is Grimplex. The Titans now making their way to the front line, getting tons of kills on Medusas. Very happy Titans whenever they can just come in and murderize all of the T1 units on the field. Flak now showing up on this northern side, stop those T1 bombers from getting free reign, which I'm sure that Grimplex will be happy to have them dealt with. Percival's now showing up on that northern side as well, as the Titans start to try and push back these loyalists. Would not be surprised if Grimplex maybe goes for T3 Aeon Land. Could see some sniper bots mixed in with his UEF forces. Percival's in the front with sniper bots in the back is a very, very scary proposition for any faction to deal with. Are Loyals worse than Titans now? Yes, they are. Loyalists, I believe, are just overall the worst unit if you are unable to use the suicide charge. And using the suicide charge means you just threw away the 480 mass, I think, that a Loyalist costs. Let's see, Loyalist, 480 mass. The most useful thing that the Loyalist can do is the suicide charge, because its main guns just don't have the DPS anymore to keep up with everybody else. And now the Titans are doing quite well for themselves as they grind through this Cybran front, grind through these Cybran armies. Probably prudent to swap up, maybe do just assisted production of bricks instead of focusing on getting out more and more Loyalists, although maybe he needs the Loyalists to hold the line. I wouldn't know. These players much, much better than me. I'm just here to commentate on what they are doing. As the Titans and Obsidians very, very understated, but they're going to be very powerful here in this current battle. They will, of course, have that huge alpha damage cannon. They will also be able to soak quite a bit of damage. Their health pools in total nearing the same as a Titan. Not quite, but nearing it, which means they are these little tanky bastards that you have to deal with, and you really want to be putting that damage onto the Titans, but you just can't. The Loyalist death effect there, death weapon, getting some value, allowing the brick to fire a little bit longer, allowing the follow-up Loyalists to work their magic. Although this force for Grimplex, it is thinning out, but it is getting dangerously close to the T3 production that is sustaining Pink Fluffy Noob as of this given moment. Will Grimplex be able to break the base? I do not know. I think he's going to be just a bit short with the Cerberus now in play, with the production being so close. I think that this is just going to be a fizzle of a attack, and he's going to be happy to have gotten the aggression onto the other side of the map, but going to be unhappy if he's unable to secure this reclaim field, which is absolutely massive. If enough bricks come out to hold on to this side, because Titans do not stand up very well against bricks, this could be a lot of reclaim showing up now for Pink Fluffy Noob. It's an entire Monkey Lord's worth. Something to keep our eyes on, as Percivals and Titans being produced in various forms. Over here we have a few Percivals and a handful of Titans. And we have bricks now showing up for Auto Noob. In the backline, Tech House Noob now starting to produce Navy. We have only really seen Navy coming out from Auto Noob, but he has quickly thrown that to the wayside as he's focusing, I'm guessing, all of his economy now into this land fight. He wants to try and win it. This large T3 force to the south now posturing, now trying to put some pressure onto Pink Fluffy Noob and trying to make sure that he can get into this reclaim field. He has the engineers on the back line, going to try and throw up some Oblivions to just help himself out. That actually maybe these T3 engineers that are going to try and build Oblivions out from Tech House Noob. Nope, they are not. It's the Oblivions coming out from Grimplex, trying to make sure that this reclaim field, which the majority of it is right here. There's 9,000 there, and then I guess 13,000, but we were looking at some of that. I guess we have to zoom in right here to see it. 8,000. So as of the moment, the reclaim field seemingly split 50-50, although it seems that the increased brick count and all of these loyalists showing up and the loss of units back there at the base of Pink Fluffy Noob now allowing Pink Fluffy Noob to push forward, although the T2 fire base being built very hastily by the efforts of Tech House Noob and Grimplex going to really push back this Cybran force out from Pink Fluffy Noob, and I think he's going to just have to be happy with having half of the reclaim field for himself. I don't know if we spoke about it. Grimplex has T2 on the comm. Tech House Noob has no upgrades. Do we have gun or anything? We have Tech 2 for Pink Fluffy Noob. And the comm of Auto Noob is at no upgrades. So not a very heavy comm play based game so far. We have a decent number of bricks now showing up. We're up to 4 or 5, and the Loyalists playing very good buffer for these bricks. The brick's going to stand back a little bit further as the Oblivions lay into these Loyalists on the front lines. I think if the Loyalists want to stop this PD creep from becoming an inevitable problem. As units fire into each other with great prejudice. A artillery drop out from Pink Fluffy Noob means that we're going to see substantial damage now going down onto the back lines. Going to probably see a couple more mexes go down in the near future, maybe even get some focusing down, kill off this T2A on HQ, which is still just pumping out those Obsidians, which I mentioned are kind of just being used as a sink for damage, just allowing his opponent to fire into a lot of units that are, at least relatively speaking, for the stage of the game, cheap and very high on HP. I don't think they're mass efficient with their HP, but maybe they are. Somebody can break that down for me down in the comments, can't you? How much, what would be the best unit to spam just to soak up damage? What unit has the best mass to HP value? Include shields with that, just effective HP. As Grimplex continues to push northwards, trying to push back this force out from Auto Noob. He's also on the other hand of the map, other side of the map, I guess is what I should say. Maps don't have hands. If they did, it would be very creepy. On the other side of the map, he is, of course, pushing forward. He's using these Obsidians in a very forward role. Surprised that he's just trying to use the Obsidians by themselves. Maybe he's just trying to sacrifice them for engineers. Or maybe that was a misclick command. He's still, of course, producing those T2 Aeon tanks. The artillery drop was cleaned up after just killing off 2 mexes. It seems as though Tech House Noob's comm was just there in the area to deal with it. The Navy, 2 frigates have managed to kill off all of the naval production of Auto Noob, so once these frigates over here to the northwest are cleaned up, will seem as though Tech House Noob has full naval supremacy. He's going for T2 Navy at the moment, going to build some Exodus. And we have a Skyhook out from Auto Noob. He's going to be using that to drop a brick into the back lines. Does need to be careful. The comm of Grimplex is within the area. Grimplex is on a stunning economy of 428 mass a second. I'm actually kind of surprised at this point we haven't seen an experimental started somewhere. Maybe we have, but it just seems a bit unlikely that all these players wouldn't have one. By this point in the game, we're getting up to everybody is above 200 mass a second. The rich players are above 350. as the Titan battle continues down here with the Loyalists and the bricks mixed in. The brick was dropped. Needs to be careful that it doesn't just get overcharged by Grimplex, who's trying to help this mechs go T3. Are some units coming in. Is a parashield that's going to eat up the damage. The brick desperately trying to get kill onto that T3 mass extractor. I don't think is going to manage it. And unfortunately for this brick, it's going to have a very sad, sad day, as it's just going to walk into an overcharge out from Grimplex. There are bombers trying to harass this force on the front, but this force looking a little bit dangerous for Autonoob. He does have a lot of bricks, and there's definitely less Percivals than there are bricks in this force, I believe. But the parashields are going to give so much HP to those Percivals, and Percivals already win the 1v1 with the brick. So going to be very interesting indeed. Did you TML my TMD? Yes, learn to chill, people. Pink Fluffy Noob just calling for calmness and order, whereas Team 2, Agents of Chaos. T3 Power gifted over in the back base to Pink Fluffy Noob. I'm sure he'll be happy with that development, not really have to worry about building a bunch of power in his own base. Very kind out from the blue Cybran. The Loyalist Titan fight continues, but now we have a bit of an issue as miasmas are showing up. And of course, this Firebase creep coming out from Tech House Noob is going to be very, very difficult to deal with. The battle is beautiful. I do believe that the Titans are going to start losing numbers in mass now with the death weapon out from the Loyalists, and the Loyalists dying right next to the Titans. These bricks are going to get tons of value on the Titans. Getting to that stage where you really are going to need Percivals on this flank, but maybe Grimplex is just trying to prove me wrong. Maybe Obsidian Titan is the strongest composition in the game, although I heavily doubt it. As the brick numbers grow and start to push further southwards towards this Firebase, trying to stop the Miasma artillery spam from becoming significant. Trebuchets in the backline firing onto this Firebase. A lot of pressure being applied and a ton of mass being dumped. 28,000 here. Imperative for both teams to gain control of that mass field. Over here, the fight in the north, Grimplex pushed back. Neither side taking a full commit fight, though. Both sides falling back when the other one pushes forward. Whereas down here, we just have Pink Fluffy Noob duking it out with both of the players of Team 2. He now has a very substantial brick force. The Oblivions are a bit of a threat, although the bricks can kill Oblivions very quickly. As the brick count increases, if you can just keep the bricks online, keep the bricks from falling, and keep these trebuchets firing, they'll be able to shut this down relatively easily. Needs to keep the trebuchets alive, needs air cover. Where are the ASF out from Autonoob? They're now going to start responding. The Treb's going to be focused down. It takes a while for each trebuchet to die. Does have that 1000 HP, and restorers don't have the highest DPS, although the ASF not responding now for Autonoob, so that just means these trebuchets going to be down. They're going to be forfeit. Which is going to be very unfortunate. He was starting to gain some real territory with those trebuchets, and now I feel as though it is just going to stall out yet again. We have a lot of T3 engineers now being produced for Grimplex. Maybe see a Fat Boy here soon. Do we have a experimental on the way anywhere else on the map? No, we do not. Or I'm not seeing one if there is. Interesting turn of play as a large air fight breaks, or a lot of large land fight breaks up. Oh, a large land fight breaks out up here. Wow. Cannot speak. I am illiterate and mute as we make our way into this intense combat coming out between our UEF and Cybran counterparts. Seems as though Auto Noob getting the worst of the engagement. Those pair of shields gaining tons of value. And the Skyboxer Flak shooting down a lot of T1 bombers. The T1 bombers are getting a payload off. They are getting some DPS down. So probably still a good trade as long as he just doesn't throw too much mass into those T1 bombers. Large naval force is now going to be assaulted by torpedo bombers from Auto Noob. Destroyers on decks now starting to fire into the back edges of the economy for Pink Fluffy Noob. Pink Fluffy Noob going to be very upset with this, as this destroyer picks off a T2 mechs, and there are more to follow behind that. Team 1 ahead economically. I feel most of the game they've been behind with Grimplex sitting on such a strong economy. Maybe stressing out Grimplex a little bit much to have to run basically this entire island on his own, whereas Team 1 has separated it between two players. They can both deal with their own problems, whereas Grimplex has to deal with the problems on both sides of the map. Overall reclaim, let's check the numbers. Of course, Team 2 is still up 50,000 total mass generation, but overall reclaim 75,000 for Pink Fluffy Noob and only 50,000 for Grimplex. So Pink Fluffy Noob really getting back into this game via reclaim. A Monkey Lord now finished up for Auto Noob. That was built quickly because I was looking for experimentals, and maybe I just didn't see it. Maybe I'm blind. Gonna have to keep an eye on this, although it's a bit scary. 32 Percivals. Hell, even if we just look, 29 Percivals, I'm pretty sure is close, if not already, one-shotting a Monkey Lord. So needs to be careful, although if he can get in here and he can have his bricks free-firing behind this Monkey Lord, he should be okay. But if the Monkey Lord just walks in by itself, it's almost guaranteed to die. As the Monkey Lord laser opens up, Grimplex may realize how much of a mistake he's made. Monkey Lord starts falling back, is worried about that volley of Percival fire. And it seems as though Grimplex going to disengage and Auto Noob going to allow him to do so. Frigates here in the back getting killed off by torpedo bombers as small segments of the Air Force of Tech House Noob sent out to kill the torpedo bombers. Trebuchet is still being used over here in this southern middle area. Seems as though the fire basing attempts have stopped, but the Trebuchets still need to kill off the remnants of that, as this area has been completely reclaimed. And up here to the north, we have a ton of reclaim, mostly on Auto Noob's side of the map, so Auto Noob gonna have to work on that himself. Grimplex up to 500 mass a second, but both Pink Fluffy Noob and Auto Noob up to 400 to 4,500 mass a second, which means that Team 1 is running away a little bit economically. 900 mass a second to 700. Very soon going to be a bit overwhelming. Grimplex probably needs to find some kind of sustained damage right now. Either that or Tech House Noob needs to step up his economy, although kind of hard to step up your economy when you have so much less than everybody else on the map. You gave most of the mass extractors over to Grimplex, who is trying desperately to win this game at the T3 phase. Monkey Lord comes back forward, does seemingly eat a lot of Percival fire. More Percival fire coming in. The bricks trying to fire into this blob of T3 damage that is walking towards them. I think the Monkey Lord is almost entirely slated to die right now. The Percivals are going to walk in, and as long as they have vision, they will be able to fire, and that Monkey Lord is not a lot of HP for 27 Percivals to deal with. Still enough Percivals to kill a Monkey Lord by themselves. As down here to the south, it seems as though Pink Fluffy Noob is going to start making some progress on his opposition. Monkey Lord still alive, surprisingly. He's gotten a rank of veterancy. Every time something strays just a little bit too far into its range, it's able to continue firing and pick up kill after kill. If he could somehow manage to get a lot of shots onto these Percivals, he would be very happy with himself. Grimplex forced to fall back again. Another experimental has been completed. I wonder where that was. It's a monkey out from Pink Fluffy Noob. This monkey most likely going to be a lot more effective, as Grimplex does have the DPS for sure to deal with it. Although that DPS is in Titans, and he has to take a full commit fight where there are going to be a lot of bricks involved if he wants that. T3 Navy finished up for Tech House Noob, and I believe he's building a Torrent. Yes, he is indeed building a Torrent-class missile ship. We'll be able to siege the economies quite well over here. We have another experimental completed up somewhere. I wonder where that may have been. Let's just go ahead and check. Does Grimplex have an experimental? He does. He has a Galactic Colossus, and it's over here. It's heading to the north. Although I'm sure he's going to be kicking himself once he realizes there's a monkey on the southern side that GC was much better positioned to deal with. And a Tsar now on the way for Grimplex. Maybe want to gift that over to Tech House Noob, as he does have the Air Force. Speaking of Air Forces, let's go ahead and check on the air numbers. 181? 182, I think. I think it's 180. It's kind of hard to see with the Cybran in the background there. Versus 271. Okay, Tech House Noob has an insane air advantage. Did Grimplex finish another experimental, or am I just going crazy? I think I'm just going crazy. That was another experimental finishing pop-up, though. Wonder what it is. Another Monkey Lord about to finish up over here for Auto Noob. If he gets that second one online, this one's regenerated up to 15,000 HP. Still not a ton for these Percivals to deal with. Although with 2 Monkey Lords, you can really start dealing with Percivals very quickly. Down here to the south, there is, of course, the Monkey Lord out from Pink Fluffy Noob, starting to make its way towards this Aeon base, which is finally T3 and now starting to produce Harbingers, although I feel like Sniper Bots are what you really need here. Over here to the north, there's an XD coming out. Don't know what that's from, but the Tsar about to complete, and the land force for Grimplex starting to push in towards the forward production of Autonoob, although now there are 2 Monkey Lords and a decent number of bricks. This is probably not enough, although with a GC showing up, maybe it is. It's a fine balance of power here on the northern side, whereas on the southern side, it just seems as though Grimplex is about to capitulate. He does have that aircraft carrier, but the experimental aircraft carrier, but that is not a solution. If Autonoob wants, he can just kill off the Tsar. He'll lose most of his air force doing so, but he can kill off the Tsar relatively quickly. He can one-pass it and try and get away unscathed. As the Tsar gonna have to come over here to the east, maybe just use it to snipe the Monkey Lord and then run away. The GC mixed with the Percivals is now going to be able to pressure up here on the northern side. Tsar going to fall back a little bit. Autonoob asking for mass as he's starting to build a megalith. Overall reclaim numbers, Pink Fluffy Noob still in the driver's seat with 95,000, but 90,000 now for Grimplex. Overall economies, Team 1 the first to surpass 1,000 mass a second, as the Monkey Lord is going to be shot at by the GC. Both Monkey Lords going to focus their damage down onto the GC. One Monkey Lord goes down while the GC's at about 60% HP. It's going to fall rapidly. The brick's going to also lay into that GC. And it's going to go down, but the shield shows up in time to allow the GC to pretty much by itself kill off the Monkey Lord. And now it's just bricks on Percivals, and Percivals win the 1v1, and I think they win the larger group engagements as well. And now it's going to be very dangerous. Pink Fluffy Noob saying XDDD to the fact that the Tsar is showing up and going to kill off the Monkey Lord. Is an air fight going to ensue? Either way, the Monkey Lord is indeed dead. Autonoob maybe not wanting to commit for that fight. If he does, he almost certainly loses his air advantage. I mean, he doesn't even have an air advantage, but he loses his opportunity to fight air. As Tech House Noob probably at 300 ASF now, 335, he is just pumping ASF out. A bunch of loyalists getting into the backline, going to be killing off some T2 mass extractors, going to be killing off some SAM sites that Grimplex has. I'm sure he's going to be happy with that run by. Take out a little bit more of that standing economy generation. As to the north, fighting continues to ensue between these players. A ton of reclaim experimental reclaim over here. We're looking at 100,000 on screen right now. This is going to be a very important fight, and it's a fight that both sides desperately want to win. He's building a lot of factories over here just simply for the fact of reclaim, is Grimplex. The Torrent-class missile ship now starting to siege down onto Pink Fluffy Noob's base. The TMD from Pink Fluffy Noob going to be quite effective, but once you get 4 or 5 Torrents, it starts to become a losing battle. And more Torrents are coming out from the base every moment. These Torrents being built incredibly quickly now, as Tech House Noob is up to 4 Torrents. He's building also a decent number of aircraft carrier, I believe. Is that an Omen? Why are you building an Omen? He's building an Omen for some reason. It's not particularly useful. He's not going to get too much range out of it, to be honest. Do not understand that. You've already won Navy. The better option here, I do feel, is the Torrent. As bricks continue to siege, or continue to counter siege this situation, the Megalith is done. The Megalith needs to get involved and needs to start sniping off Percivals. Grimplex is getting too much leeway here. He is already on the experimental reclaim. He's already trying to steal it away before anything major happens. T1 bombers coming out from Auto Noob to shut this down. The Tsar has been gifted over now to Tech House Noob for the micro purposes. Another GC has been completed by Grimplex. Over here to the east, a GC versus Megalith engagement. Megalith wins this handily. And it seems as though Pink Fluffy Noob may have just enough here to just push this all back to win this engagement. Maybe the Tsar can come over and change the fate of this southern side, but it's starting to look relatively desperate for Grimplex while he's trying to desperately push on the northern side. On the southern side, he is just starting to capitulate to the overwhelming economy that Pink Fluffy Noob is throwing into his land force. He's throwing a lot of mass into things like Megaliths, into bricks, whereas he's fighting up against Titans. The only sore spot for him is the fact that there is a stupid amount of air experimentals, and by that I mean 1, that is really just making his life hell. If Auto Noob could get in and somehow get a kill on that Tsar without losing his air force, it would be amazing for Team 1. It doesn't seem possible. Megalith getting stuck in over here to the north, killing off retreating Percivals. The reclaim efforts for Auto Noob not seemingly going too heavily on the reclaim. I say that, but he's making 100 reclaim a second, so can't possibly be too ignoring of it. 120,000 reclaim for Grimplex, 111,000 for Pink Fluffy Noob, Auto Noob at 43,000, and 32,000 for Tech House Noob. Overall economies, Auto Noob at 605 mass a second, 545 for Grimplex, Tech House Noob at 439, and 420 for Pink Fluffy Noob. So these players all on somewhat even footing economically. As we meander our way into the late game, all of the Torrent classes and these Kiefer classes, which are critically being used as very, very big cruisers. That's what you can use Kiefer classes as. You can use all of the aircraft carriers like this. And if you build a few of them, they can kill off a ton, and I mean a ton, of torpedo bombers before they go down. I've seen upwards of 100 kills on a aircraft carrier just from those anti-air cannons. The Megalith now getting huge value on this northern side. Grimplex starting to capitulate, and it looks like both sides are falling. It seems as though Grimplex has run out of steam. He just doesn't have the units on the field to fight this, but he has a beautiful, beautiful run-by coming through, and does Pink Fluffy Noob know about it? He does! What is Pink Fluffy Noob's response? You need to deal with this. He's going to need to start building a lot of Cerberus, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's going to need to get this reinforcing Megalith to start heading south to help deal with this. As the Torrent classes are starting to get in, they're starting to fire into the backline, but this mountain is just too high. And Auto Noob going to be protected from the Torrent classes. They're very expensive, and you're hoping to get a little bit more done with them than is currently being done with these ones Tech House Noob has created. The Tsar comes in. It's going to try and focus all of its DPS down onto this Megalith. The air for Auto Noob showing up. The Tsar falls back and Auto Noob plays chicken and swerves first. Does not take the air fight. I'm sure he knows he's behind on air. Still only at 303, whereas Tech House Noob would not be surprised to see, yep, nearly 500 ASF. With this overwhelming air advantage Tech House Noob has, it's starting to feel like you need to really throw up a lot of SAMs across the map. This land incursion out from Grimplex, one critical thing that we may have not taken into account is this is going to kill off a lot of this TMD. Maybe it will allow these torrents to get something done. Torpedo bombers coming in, going to kill off one of the torrents, actually going to kill off both of the torrents, but going to start dying as a T1 engineer tries to reclaim a Kiefer, which is going to take a long time. A lot of torpedo bombers firing into this, but as you saw, that's like 20 torpedo bombers, and they only half health the thing, and now it's got veterancy, 39 kills, 21 kills, 30 kills. They're going to get veterancy very quickly. They are going to die, but each of them is worth very, very many torpedo bombers. Down to the south, double GC has killed off a Megalith, and it seems as though Grimplex, while he is faltering on the northern side, he is gaining territory on the southern side. He is constantly keeping this ebb and flow of this combat and keeping it interesting, as these players are constantly throwing units back and forth. There's just non-stop fighting. There is an overwhelming presence out from all of these players. As the Megalith falls back, does get defeated by the GC Duet. And that might be the nails in the coffin for Pink Fluffy Noob. I don't think he has what it takes to hold off this double GC push, especially when it's supported by these Percivals in the back. You see Harzer mode Navy, 1 air, while Auto Noob is on 2 bases. Auto was versus me and would have lost 3 minutes ago. Also, yeah, this is actually, that's a beautiful play. I didn't realize that. He put the aircraft carriers right here. If he tries to fly reinforcement ASF out, they just get shot by those cannons. Oh my word, that's a beautiful play. Tech House Noob with the big brain, the mega giga brain play. This is the most creative use of aircraft carriers I think I've ever seen. He's locking Auto Noob out of playing air. Apparently the Tsar went down somewhere. That'll be a fun wreck to try and find. No idea. No idea where the Tsar died. Maybe it's already been reclaimed for all I know. As the GCs push forward into the forward production base of Pink Fluffy Noob. Double Megalith coming up onto the scene. Gonna take down 1 GC, the second soon to follow. Although Pink Fluffy Noob has taken irrecoverable economic damage in my opinion. The Tsar over here fighting again. That's not the first Tsar. The first Tsar did have a rank of veterancy, I do believe. Or maybe I'm imagining things, but I could have sworn it did. And this Tsar getting infinite value as it just lays down the damage into that Megalith. And I think that's gonna be game. Double Megalith over here on the eastern side might be a hope. But with the Tsar being able to contest land battles unmolested, it's just looking a little bit hopeless for our Cybran Duet in the north side. As Torrent class is now able to come into firing range of this base, and there's not enough TMD here. A battleship now showing up. Maybe that battleship got some value, killed off some mexes. 3,000 mass killed, still feels a bit bad. As a wave of strat bombers comes in from Tech House Noob in order to close out the game. These shockers coming in. This ending will shock you. We will tomorrow we will shock you. It's like the Aeon Air Anthem. As the ASF seemingly try to sally out of their Hermit Kingdom castle to stop these shockers. Shockers taking a bit of a scenic route as they make their way into the base and drop their payloads. Seems as though it was a Shift G order of some kind, but it does manage to kill off the ACU. Or wait, no, that was just a bunch of SCUs. ACU still in play. And the base is gone. Auto Noob Control K's everything but the comm. And maybe some engineers. And Auto Noob Control K's himself. Pink Fluffy Noob has built an experimental, but all is lost now for Team 1 as Auto Noob seemingly rage quits. And I believe this will be a Control K coming out from Pink Fluffy Noob. Thank you all for watching. You have been beautiful. Thank you to my Patreons. I will see you in the next cast. Go down below. Please consider supporting me on Patreon or joining the channel membership or even doing a super thanks. Every little bit does help a lot. Super thanks, in case you don't know, it's like donating on a live stream. Your comment gets highlighted in the comments with the dollar amount, and it's permanent. So please consider doing that. And you all are beautiful, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.